Mix up your phrasing and improve your alternate picking by learning the sick sequence lick. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. You guys know that I'm a sucker for a Paul Gilbert style alternate picked sequence lick through a 3-note per string scale. They're really handy to toss into your solos and stuff. You can plug them into any scale pattern that you're using at that time. They can improve your picking, and gosh darn it, they sound cool. Today's lick in F Lydian is a 24-note sequence based around sextuplets, or 6 notes per beat. I designed this lick as an alternate picking obstacle course, but I also slipped in a few little melodic details in there that we'll talk about that'll turn you into a more better shredder. Guaranteed. And as always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. This week, everybody who supports my channel, even at just a $1 a month level, gets access to a wealth of practice tracks that I made of this lick at a variety of different tempos. I'll also be uploading the MIDI files from the track, that way you can load those into your DAW and create your own perfect practice session. You'll get access to all kinds of bonus goodies, and you'll be buying some treats for my dogs, so sign up today. Thanks. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm using my lovely Suhr modern Satin here, going into the Fractal Audio Axe FX 3. It's nice. I like things that are nice. But first things first, let's hear that ferocious phrase again at stepdad speed. Okay, so this lick is based around the F Lydian scale. You could call that the 4th mode of the C major scale. You could call that an F major scale with a raised 4th. Just don't call it late for dinner. We're going to start off here on the root note of the scale F, which we can find on our A string, fret number 8. And what you're going to do is to play the first 3 notes of the scale on that string. F, G, and A, using that big wide stretch. Next, we're going to go to the D string here and play its 3 notes, B, C, and D, which we can find right here. There's B, C, D. Play up those notes 2 times, like this. Next, we're going to play the exact same pattern on the G string, which will generate its notes, E, F, and G. Play up those 2 times. So far, we've played up the 3 notes on the A, 6 notes on the D, 6 notes on the G. And again, this is all alternate picked, no economy picking, so down, up, repeat. Now at this point in the pattern, you're going to play a single note on the B string, it's A note. Walk down the 3 notes on the G, then you're going to walk down the 3 notes on the D, and then back up. Okay, so from right there on the B string, we played a single note, walk down the scale, walk back up. That is the sequence in a nutshell. Let's try it one more time. Now at this point, what we're going to do is to shift up here to the C note on the D string. The reason that I'm doing this is because we're playing this lick over an F chord, right? Now, an F chord has 3 notes in it. It's got F, A, and C in there. So whenever you're playing these like sequenced, shreddy licks, it's always a good idea to start them off on one of the chord tones. Not just whatever note happens to land under your fingers, but rather choosing to, start this second section here on C is going to make the whole thing sound a lot more locked into the harmony of the chord. If you want to sound melodic, especially when you're shredding, you still got to be conscious about those chord tones. What are the notes in the chord you're playing over, and how can you attack them the best? So in the case of this pattern right here, we're going to be starting off here on this C note, because that is the 5th of our F chord. Same idea, we're just going to be in a different section of the scale. Check this out. Starting off walking up the 3 notes on the D string here, C, D, and E. Next, we're going to play the exact same pattern on our G string, which is going to yield the notes F, G, A. Play up those 2 times. Walk up here to the B string to play its 3 notes, B, C, and D. Note the little position shift right there, up here to the 12th fret. Play up its notes 2 times. So now we have It's at this point in the sequence that we play the single note on the next string, E, walk down, then walk back up. So the entire second section sounds like this. One more time, a little slowlier. Now at this point we're going to start over again, this time from the F note on the G string, the one that your first finger is already on. Again, I'm choosing F because that's the root note of the chord we're playing against. Now from right here in the scale we're going to walk up those 3 notes, go to the B, walk up its 3 notes 2 times, same as before. Now when you play that pattern on the high E string, it's going to give you the notes E, F, G, which we play up 2 times. Now at this point in the pattern is where I would grab a single note on the next string, but I don't have a next string. So what we're going to do is to shift up into the scale to play what that note would be if we had an extra string. So we're going to go up here with our little finger to the A note on fret number 17. What we're going to do is to walk down, just like that, play the same pattern on the B string. It's going to give you E, D, C, and then your first finger is going to shift down a fret to play B, C, D. Okay, so it's like shifting up, shifting down. And then just finish this out on the B note here. That's a sharp 11 to that F chord, which gives us that really cool like F Lydian kind of vibe that I like so much. Let's double our mileage here by talking about how you'd play that sequence in a descending fashion. For this I'm going to be using a 3 note per string C major scale. So if I started this sequence off from the F note on the first string, I would walk down those 3 notes. I'd walk down the B strings notes 2 times. I'd walk down the G strings notes 2 times. And then I would have that single note on the D string before I walked up again, and then walked down 2 notes, okay? We can start that over here from the C note on the second string. Or even the G note right here. Be sure to practice that sequence in its ascending and descending forms for maximum impact. And if you're using this in your soloing, be sure to take into account what chord you're playing over at that time and think about what notes work with that chord. So for example, if I was playing that pattern over a C chord, I wouldn't start off on the F note because that F note isn't a part of a C chord. C chord has C, E, and G in it, so those are all surefire good notes to start with if I was ripping through this sequence. It's important to notice that almost all these string changes happen after downstrokes. So if you watched my pick slanting video that came out last week, you'll already be understanding the differences between upwards escape and downwards escape picking. If you've not watched that video, go check it out. It's seriously one of the best videos that I've ever made in my opinion. But look at my picking hand as I play this through right here. You can see that I'm kind of pitching the picking in such a way that the upstrokes are kind of going into the strings and the downstrokes are kind of getting out like that. That allows me to make the string changes a lot more easier. Now when you reach the single upstroke, that's kind of a tricky one right there because our upstrokes had previously been kind of going into the strings, you know? So you got to be sure to kind of snag this one up so that way you still get out of the strings. Right there. That's the only upstroke change in this entire lick. That's a challenging thing for me because anybody that watches my channel knows I love playing licks that have me changing strings after upstrokes. But it's really important to continually challenge ourselves and do the things that are difficult for us, you know? For me, it's those downstroke string changes. That's always been kind of my Achilles heel. So I halfway designed this lick for me just to give me something good to practice too, you know? Another thing I really advise you do with every sequence lick that you learn is to practice it with what I call a non-native time field. Here's what I mean. Okay, most of your sequence licks are based around triplets, meaning 3 per beat, 16th notes, meaning 4 notes per beat, or sextuplets, like this one, meaning 6 notes per beat. But that doesn't mean that you always have to play them with that time feel that they were originally written for. And a lot of times whenever you do this, you end up with really interesting phrases because they're not like super predictable. You know, you won't hear the patterns like starting over on a downbeat and stuff like that. It sounds a lot more erratic and random. Let me explain a little bit more here using the metronome. So the lick was originally written to be played as 16th note triplets or sextuplets, 6 per beat, right? It sound like this if I was playing with the metronome. Triplet, 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 triplet. But I could just as easily play that exact same phrase only with the groove of 16th notes, meaning 4 per beat. So again, just think about what 4 per beat would sound like there. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and play the lick exactly as it was written, just with that groove. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. A lot of those phrases don't even sound like the same licks whenever you play them with their non-native time feel. It's really cool and a great way to kind of like double your lick vocabulary. If you want to see like a full lesson devoted all to native and non-native time feels and stuff, let me know in the comments section. That's something I've been thinking about doing here for a while. So there you go guys, a brand new scalding hot sequence lick to add into your shred vocabulary. Be sure to head on over to my Patreon page by clicking the link in the video description and grab those practice tracks. That way you can start shredding this thing like a beast. Thanks so much for liking this video and subscribing. Be sure to ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. But for now, get away from the computer, grab your guitar, and get to shredding. Less clicking, more picking.